All right. You're showing a new buyer a house.
Yes.
They've brought the family.
Yes. Oh
The
gosh.
kids are running wild.
Oh no.
What do you do?
Okay. So I'm showing a house. People show up. They've got kids and these kids are wild. I'm actually personally probably going to gather those kids and have them stay with me or close by, or I'm going to entertain them so the parents can take a look at the house.
What happens when a seller, no matter what you say, insists on pricing 10 to 15% above market value?
Most of the time, if the seller's not on board with the pricing, I haven't done a good enough job in preparing them to understand where we need to be. So that's usually on me. Other times the sellers just aren't motivated. They're looking at their house like a lottery ticket. And if that's the case, well, they're probably not going to be moving. Because if you price it properly, it doesn't matter what price range you're in, your house will sell. Preparing the proper information to present and presenting it in a way that they understand is helpful. But to be honest, some people just don't want to hear it. And or maybe they're just not ready to hear it. So everybody's at a different stage in the cycle of selling or moving or making a change. But there's like an old adage that a real estate coach years ago said, the lower the motivation, the higher the price. And people who are motivated and they want to move and they need to move, they're typically pricing it realistically of where it needs to be.
You're working with a buyer. You've written 10 offers with them. They lowball every single time and they're frustrated with you.
Yeah, so buyers that are wanting to lowball or just looking for a deal on every property can be very frustrating for them and for an agent. I think that setting expectations up front, but you know what, there are some buyers that are just looking to buy at discount, and there's certain properties they can buy, but it's not going to work all the time, especially when we were in a very heated market. There were a lot of buyers that were writing offers on properties, especially when multiple offers, where you'd be competing with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other buyers. And so we wrote multiple offers with buyers on multiple properties and didn't get it. But I would say in that case, you just got to stay the course. You'll eventually be successful.
It's possession day. Your buyers are so excited. You've met them at the property, you're going up to the front door together, you've got the keys, you open the door, and you're greeted by the tenant of the property. Now what?
I've never had this one happen. So where we've got possession day and a tenant hasn't moved out, well, actually, I did have this happen where a seller didn't move out. It was the very first house I ever sold. And the seller wasn't there, but we walked in, the keys were released, I opened up the front door, we walked in, and all the seller stuff was still in the house. And the buyer was like, woohoo, jackpot, we get all their stuff. Well, that's not the case. The buyers changed the locks and tried to assume all of the seller stuff, and then the police got involved. That was my very first sale. But again, it's like things come up, we just have to deal with it at the time. Obviously, knowing what I know now, I would handle it differently. Back then, I didn't know what to do. But there's a solution for every problem. We just have to figure it out. Talk to the person, figure out next steps.
You've been asked to list a property that is stigmatized. What I mean by this, perhaps it had some bad media press, perhaps there was a death in the home, perhaps it was involved in crime. How do you handle this as a realtor to then appeal to buyers?
Well, for the most part, a lot of that stuff, there's no obligation to disclose some of these like stigmatized properties. There's very strict rules in British Columbia that we would follow for what needs to be disclosed versus what doesn't. However, as a realtor, we would need to have the conversation with the seller as to how we're going to move forward with this, whether it is disclosing right up front or keeping things quiet unless somebody asks about it. It's like whether there was a death in the home. And it's funny because buyers, a lot of times they'll ask it, but in a jokingly way. And then my question to them is, would you actually want to know? And then most of them will say, oh no, we don't need to know. But would it make a difference? And then in Parksville, Qualicum, we have an aging population and people pass away peacefully in their homes. And I don't think that's a negative towards a property at all. But for some people, if that is, then I guess then they need to ask those questions. But you're not always going to get the truth also on answers like that, or maybe that information may not be available.
So we have a buyer and they've shown up on possession day. Now, when they viewed the property, it was pristine condition,
Yeah.
beautifully staged, very clean. Possession day, they've walked in, there's garbage around, it's quite messy, dirty, and they're quite shocked. What do you do as a realtor in those scenarios?
So really, I mean, as far as the obligation, on completion day, possession day, in the contract it says that the home will be in relatively the same condition as it was when you viewed it. So my experience, homes that are pristine when you show them are usually spotless when you show up on possession date, and homes that are messy and dirty are the same. So don't expect people to change. But the odd time a home shows and presents itself perfectly, and then we get there on possession day and it's not, it's dirty. And a lot of times what the case is that the sellers may be moved and they had somebody else come and move their stuff out that didn't have the care and attention to detail that they did. So a lot of times the buyers is buying that, their expectations is going to be, so yeah, my position is if I can get there in advance, get it cleaned prior to them, it's just to make it right. You know, we want buyers to be happy, we want sellers to be happy. But most people do. They leave their homes perfect and in a very nice condition for the buyers to come along. But if you're a buyer and you're expecting a house to be in perfectly cleaned, like professionally cleaned condition, and it wasn't when you viewed it, then if you're that buyer, you need to hire a professional cleaner to clean it before you move in. Then you'll get it to the standard that you want. Don't rely on a seller that doesn't have the same standards as you have.